Welcome back to the It's Too Easy podcast. I'm Zach. This is Jake, and thank you for giving us a couple weeks to enjoy the holidays. Hope you guys had a good one as well. But now back to the regular scheduled sessions that we got. Jake, what do you got for us this week?
Yep. So coming up on the last week of NFL games, obviously going to have a few players out on some teams that have either clinched already or are looking to save some health for the postseason. So picks, keep in mind that a lot of these are taken with a grain of salt. We don't know exactly who's playing, but the first game on our slate is the Steelers and Ravens. Obviously, the Ravens have looked great. Not playing Lamar Jackson this week. I do expect them to still win this game. Tyler Huntley's been pretty good when he's been in. So I'm going to take the Ravens money line at plus 160. 13-3. This team has just been rolling, and I don't expect the Steelers to be able to stop them much in this game either.
Yep, I'm on the same side. I do think the Ravens are going to get there. Also, if you listen to the very first episode we gave out Lamar to win the MVP plus 1100. It's a lock now. So
Yeah,
hope you
for
took
sure.
that. Hope you took that with me, and we're still waiting to see what happens with the playoffs to see if the Ravens do well, which they haven't under Lamar Jackson. But I got him again this week. I think Tyler Huntley's good. They almost beat the Bengals with him last year in the playoffs. And on top of that, in order for the Bills to make the playoffs, if they lose, they need either the Jags or Steelers to lose to make the playoffs. And I think the NFL wants the Bills to be there. I think they want the Jags to be there. And so I don't think that the Steelers will win this game. I think they'll get eliminated at 9-8, and the Ravens will win this game.
Yep, agreed. Next game is the Texans and the Colts. Obviously, both these teams are 9-7, looking for a spot in the playoffs. Texans played a great game last week against the Titans, and that's kind of the main reason I'm going with them this week. Colts have been kind of a shaky win-one, lose-one team, and I've been riding Gardner the majority of the season to my demise for the most part. So for this game, I actually am going to take C.J. Stroud and that rookie quarterback with that team. I do think that the Texans are the better team and that they deserve that playoff spot, so I think they're going to go in and beat the Colts at home.
Yeah, I just love what D'Amico Ryans has been able to do. CJ Stroud's been able to do, and obviously CJ had missed a couple games, but being back, they turned it around immediately against the Titans.
Yeah.
Had some luck with having a running into the kicker call, but then they ended up capitalizing, going 90 yards, scoring a touchdown, then get a fumble for 6 the very next play for the Titans drive, and pulled away at that point. I do think the Texans are probably going to end up winning this game. It's hard to say going into Indianapolis. I love what Shane Steichen has done over with Indianapolis, and I love Gardner Minshew, but I will be taking the Texans this week.
Yeah, I like that. Next is the Bucks and the Panthers. Obviously, the Bucks have been a pretty solid team this season, still looking to make it into the playoffs. But for your parlay, I know you need the Saints to win and the Bucks to lose. And it's been a pretty sad season for the Panthers, but what a week to finally root for them. So I don't know. We've been kind of back and forth on this one, but in order for things to kind of stay true to what you were thinking at the beginning of the season, we need the Bucks to lose this game. So maybe the Panthers will pull this one out, and I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit on it, plus 190.
Yeah, Panthers are at home. The Bucks are going for the playoffs. They've been rolling. They've been hot. Bryce Young, show me what you got, buddy. This is the last game
Yeah,
of the year. It doesn't matter to you guys, but it matters to them. Come out and take it from them. That's, I think, the best way that you can end the season on a high note to try and prepare for next year. You're already giving up the first round draft pick, which is the number one
yeah,
pick in the draft, to the Bears. You got nothing to lose. Just go out there, give it your best shot. I know they had a close game with them in Tampa in the rain
yeah. I was
5
gonna
weeks ago
say,
or so. So
yeah,
getting points, I like it. I mean, I don't really like it, but I'm rooting for the Panthers, so we're going to ride it all the way and take a money line as well.
yeah. Like you said, don't love it at all, but at the end of the day, Panthers got to go get one, and this is a good one, at least to give them some momentum going into the next season and get their mind off that draft pick that they're losing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, next game is the Browns versus the Bengals. Right now, the Browns are 7.5-point underdogs. I don't exactly know why. I know Flacco's not playing, so I'm guessing that's why. But their defense is still amazing, and the Bengals still have Jake. I don't know if Jake Browning's still at quarterback. I'd imagine he is, but they haven't been too solid the last couple weeks. So I'm liking the Browns plus 7.5. That just feels like a lot of points for a good defense against the Bengals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm taking the Browns money line. If you want to play it safe, take the plus 7.5. You don't really know because a lot of the defense might be out. A lot of the offense already we know is out for the Browns.
Hmm.
But I do think they're the better team. They've been riding that wave all year long. The playoff spot doesn't matter really for them, I don't think. If they win, they secure the 5. If they don't, I think they could drop to the 6, depending on what happens in that Bills Dolphins game. I do think they go out and they get the win in Cincy.
Yeah, I mean that's 240 right now is that line right now for the Browns money line. I mean that's looking pretty nice to sprinkle a little bit on for this weekend with how well that defense is playing. Vikings and the
Mm-hmm.
Lions next. Lions obviously clinched their division for the first time in I can't remember how many years.
Hurry.
Long time. Yeah, long
Yeah.
time. Um, I like them in this game against the Vikings. They're at home. They're going to need a little comeback game going into the playoffs to give them a little momentum after that loss last week to the Cowboys off of a controversial call after what should have never been a possession in my mind, but it is what it is.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think they're going to come back. They're going to win this game this week. They're minus 185 right now on the money line, and I like that number.
Yep, I like the Lions as well. Obviously, like the Packers, I thought that was free last week. We weren't on the show to give it out, but I gave it out on the Instagram. And yeah, I mean they look terrible. Nick Mullins is not good. Jaron Hall is not good. So whoever's in for the Vikings shouldn't be good.
Yeah.
I think the Lions are resting Jared Goff, I believe, which means I believe Hendon Hooker's going to get a chance to play
Ooh.
unless they have somebody else. I think Bridgewater might be there. But either way, I like Bridgewater. I like Hooker. So whoever's playing, I think I like them better than the Vikings team anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like the Lions this week. Jets and Pats. Obviously, the Jets no longer are going to have Wilson in their lineup. Um, Pats, on the other hand, are I don't know. I think they're going to find a way to win this game. They're at home. It's probably going to be pretty cold. It's a January game. Jets obviously are used to the cold, but I think it's going to be a super defensive game. Probably a game in which it'll be like 3-3, maybe like 6-3 going late into the fourth quarter, and then the Pats will score a touchdown, win like 13-3 is my guess. So I'm looking at probably under if it's super low. I might I might not touch it, but yeah, I like the Pats money line.
Yeah, I like the Pats this week as well. Belichick, I think, has won 14 straight against the Jets. I expect that
Okay.
to continue. The only thing that worries me is if they lose, they secure themselves a better draft pick, which could give them Caleb Williams at this point with all the talk about who's going to go one, if Jaden Daniels is going to go before him, this and that. Um, so I hope they're not tanking because I'm going to ride with Belichick and the Pats.
Yeah, that is kind of a Belichick thing to do too, is just lose the last game to get a better draft pick. So hopefully that doesn't happen. I'm riding with the Pats this week. Falcons and the Saints. Saints need to win this week to win the division. Falcons kind of have been on the downturn towards the second half of the season, so just for that reason, the Saints are at home. Saints have been playing better. I like a money line this week. They're minus 180 favorites. I'm taking it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I said at the beginning of the year, don't sleep on the Falcons because their offense, isn't great. Didn't understand the Bijan pick. I still feel the exact same way 17 weeks later. But I do think the Saints have a better defense, and the Saints need it to win the division. I think if the Falcons win and the Bucks lose, they might win the division. But I know they at least have a chance. I think that actually is if they'll win the division if the Saints lose to them and then the Bucks lose. But I think the Saints win. I think they win fairly easily. To be honest, I don't think the Falcons are very good. I think it's going to be a double-digit win for the Saints.
Yeah, right on. I like that. Jags and the Titans. Obviously, it's a big game. For some reason, I just feel like the Jags are going to lose this game. But I am going to take a money line just because they kind of need this in this spot in that division. Um, I don't love it. Like I said, I for some reason feel like they're going to throw this game, but I'm just going to take a money line.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I'm like, for some reason, I swear the Titans are going to come out and win this game, and I'm
Yeah,
going to be
somehow.
fuming. I'm going to be fuming if they win this. I need the Jags. I need the Dolphins this week. A lot of money based off of preseason bets going off those two winning their division. Uh, we're sticking to it. We're going to take the Jags on the money line. Don't love the
Yeah,
points.
yeah. Don't look back. Seahawks and Cardinals. Seahawks need to win this one, I think, to make the playoffs. So it's a pretty big game for them. Actually, another game that I feel like they're potentially going to throw as well. But I am gonna stick with the Seahawks. I'll take a money line at -150. The number's right. They're definitely the favorites to win this game. For some reason, I just don't feel like they're going to, but I feel like that's the right play in this one.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the Seahawks, I think, are the 8 seed, so they need to win, and I think the Packers need to lose. If
Yeah,
that's because I know the Rams clinched, so I think
yeah,
that the 7 spots open for that. Um, I think if the Bucks lose, they get eliminated if the Saints win too. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm going to stick with the Seahawks on the money line. They need to get a win. They got the better
yeah.
coach. I do like what Gannon's done over with the Cardinals. I was not shocked if you listened to my plays last week. Cardinals won over the Eagles. Loved it. Loved the 13.5 they were getting. Um, I think he's done a good job, but I think Pete Carroll's going to have his team ready to play to have, do their part to have a chance at making the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I think that the Seahawks definitely, I mean, they've been a pretty solid team for the last decade, so it's pretty tough to not bet on them to make the playoffs. But at the same time, this Cardinals team with the second half of the season with Kyler Murray has looked like a pretty different team on offense. So, yeah, that should be a fun game. Bears and the Packers. Bears have been pretty solid the last 5 weeks, and they're a pretty fun team to watch. Not going to lie with Justin Fields, he's definitely made it hard on their front office to decide whether they're going to take a quarterback or not in the first round of the draft, or even in the first two picks, I guess, right? Since they're going to probably have both. But yeah, I like the Bears in this game against the Packers. They're away, but they've been playing good football. I like the way their defense has really turned it around too in the second half of the season. So yeah, I'm going to lay some money on them at +130 against the Packers this week.
Yeah, I said at the beginning of the year I expect the Bears to be around 7-ish wins. Wouldn't be surprised if they got over, but wouldn't really have been surprised if they were a couple under.
Mm-hmm.
They're at 7 right now, and I feel like they're going to get an eighth. I do feel like they're
Yeah,
going to get an eighth.
yeah,
I didn't know it was going to come from the Packers. I said I like Love. I still like Love. He looks really good, actually.
yeah.
And I thought the Packers were going to be the bottom of the division, which if the Bears win, they will be, even though they'll be tied. So I think I'm going to ride with the Bears money line.
Yeah, I'm taking Bears money line. I'm also gonna sprinkle a little bit on Jordan Love to throw an interception, just because I really like the way this Bears defense has been playing, and this is a game where they're gonna be slinging the ball a lot, as long as it's not too cold and windy. So yeah, I like him to throw a pick
I
this
think this
game.
might be a high scoring game because Justin Fields is going to have to prove one more time before the draft that he's the guy that they need to stick with and go
Yeah,
get Marv is what I would tell him.
yeah, maybe even check his rushing yards, see what that number's at. Because if it's at a reasonable number, he could go off big time on rushing this
Yeah.
week for sure. With
If,
a
it,
kind of a
if it's under
depleted,
50, I'd take it. I think he's
yeah,
going over 50.
depleted Packers secondary too, and young. Chiefs and Chargers, obviously big game this week. Chargers got Easton Stick playing. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with the Chiefs, who's starting. But they're right now they're underdogs. I think 3.5 or 4.5 point underdogs to the Chargers, and they are away. But I just think the Chiefs are a better team. Chargers have been pretty abysmal without Justin Herbert in there, and obviously they're going to have a whole new coaching staff coming in. So nothing's really looking on the positive side for them. I don't know how they're favorites in this game other than just being at home and seeing two quarterbacks that don't normally play. I guess that's the reasoning behind it, but I like the Chiefs. I think they're the better team.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Chiefs plus 4.5. I'm going to take a money line. Look for that in the parlay. I don't think Easton Stick's very good. Even if Mahomes and all those guys aren't playing, I think they should be the better team. Like their
Yeah.
backups are probably as good as the Chargers starting team. So I'm going to take them. I do expect it to be a low scoring game. So if it's over 37 on an over under line, I'd take the under.
Yeah, I feel like that's solid too. Then we got Broncos Raiders, two other teams that have been pretty solid towards the second half of the season. Raiders obviously kind of fell off a little bit, had a little stint in there where they didn't look so hot, but with Aiden O'Connell at quarterback, it feels like they're actually they're outperforming what they should be doing, considering the pieces that they do have. But I do like them in this game against the Broncos. They're at home. Josh Jacobs, I feel like, is going to go off for probably 200 yards rushing. Um, yeah, I see the Raiders winning this game. I feel like this is an Antonio Pierce is getting himself a contract game, and I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if they're necessarily going to make the playoffs with their position, but
They're
I just feel
not.
like
Yeah.
I just feel like though that this is definitely a game. It's a divisional game. The Raiders love divisional games. They play them tough. They just beat the Chiefs last week. Why not?
Yeah, the Raiders also play well at home. I talked about that
Hmm.
before. I think they're 5-3 or 6-2 at home. They're at home again this game. Obviously, the Broncos barely won against the Chargers last week, um, and they didn't look good. Um, Granted, I like Jarrett Stidham. I'm excited to see what he's going to do because it's going to be a revenge game against the Oakland team that he stepped or Las Vegas team he stepped into last year.
True.
But I like Aiden O'Connell and the offense. I'm also hoping that if Josh Jacobs goes for 200, that'd be sick. But I need two touchdowns out of Devontae Adams this week to lock up some six teamers preseason. So we're hoping that Devontae Adams pops off and gets in the end zone a couple more times at the end of the year. And I'm taking the
Yeah.
Raiders on the money line.
Right on. Yep. Raiders feels right. Eagles and the Giants. I think, yeah, I don't know why, but the Eagles are only 5-point favorites in this game. I feel like that number should be way higher with how the Giants have looked. Yeah, I'm just taking the Eagles -5, and I might also sprinkle a little bit on money line just because that number is probably going to be pretty good. So
Yeah, the Eagles don't know if the Cowboys are going to win in Washington, and if
true.
the Cowboys lose and they win the division. So I think they're going to go out there and smack them.
Yeah,
I think the five's easy. I think the Vegas is kind of scared after they gave them 13 last week and then they lost.
yeah,
Um, so I think that's why it's at five as they're on the road. But I do expect them to win by 20. To be honest, like I don't think it's going to be very close. I think they come out the gates, start scoring. I think they might go for 40, and maybe they'll give up. I mean, their defense isn't good. They could give up 20
yeah. I mean,
still,
and the Giants are
25, 30.
notorious for not being necessarily good at home. So like, I
Yeah,
could
I'm going to
easily
take
see
it
the
at
Eagles.
as high as it lets me go up till like 20. If I can find it at minus 16 and a half, I'm still going to take
Yeah,
that, get the best value out of it. And then I'll take Eagles money line and parlays -5 and throw that in there as well.
yeah.
I do like them a lot this week.
I'm gonna touch the money line and the -5, but if I'm gonna buy it up, I'll probably look up to maybe like 12.5 is what I'm thinking. I could see them winning like by 13 or something, maybe like 30, 13 to 27 or something. So yeah, I
Yeah.
like that a lot. Then we got the Rams and the Niners. Obviously the Niners are clinched, have the first seed. Um, One of the best teams in the NFC, if not the best. So they're looking pretty tough. The Rams, I think they've clinched as well the playoffs, but um, I'm not sure who's exactly playing for them. If Stafford's starting, I think that the Rams have a decent shot, but the Niners, even with Darnold as backup, are going to be a pretty good team. They're just fundamentally a strong team, so I like the Niners in this game.
Yeah, I'm leaning on the Niners because of Darnold. I like a lot. I said at the beginning of the year, I think Darnold wins the Super Bowl and takes them to there. I think Brock Purdy gets there and loses. I still think that. Um, but the problem is, I don't think Darnold's going to have the weapons to throw to. I don't expect Kittle, Debo, Ayuk to be playing the whole game, and I don't even know if they're going to play the whole first half.
Mm,
And again, we don't know what's happening yet with the Rams. Stafford and them could be playing. They might not because they already clinched. It's just going to make a difference on if they're playing the six or playing as the six seed or as the seven seed, which would be either at Dallas, Philly, or Detroit. And I don't think it really matters going into
yeah,
it for them.
nah.
Um,
I mean, they may
I think
try
the
and play it
Lions,
strategically, but
yeah. If Stafford ends up playing and Puka and Cooper Cup, if they're playing all the starters, I would take the Rams. I think on the money line and with the points, just because I don't think most of the starters are going to be playing for the Niners, and I think the Rams would rather play the Lions
yeah,
and let Matt Stafford have revenge on Detroit, and Detroit try and have revenge on Rams. That'd be a perfect matchup for the NFL to write up
yeah, for sure.
instead of playing the Cowboys again, who obliterated them, in week 7 or whatever it was.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No,
I'll lean Rams with the points if Stafford and those guys are starting.
yeah. No, I think that's right. It really depends on how many Niners starters are playing and kind of where the playoff picture sits, because it's going to all depend on who the Rams are playing, I think, and it's gonna depend on how bad they want to win. Because if the Niners are playing their second string, they should win. But if there's no reason to win, like you're playing a worse team, if you win, then what's the point? I could just see them playing
Mhm.
their second string too. So we'll see. I'll probably touch that one live. And then Bills and Dolphins is the last two of the season. Last two teams. Bills and Dolphins. I'm kind of going back and forth on this, but I just think that the Dolphins are going to win this game. Right now, they're underdogs, plus 130. Tyreek Hill has been an absolute dog. I don't know if you saw, but his house got lit on fire today. And it was like a $7 million Miami mansion that his family was able to make it out safe and get that all figured out. I'm glad everybody's safe. But I think that this is going to be a big game from him after that moment and trying to get his family's, morale, I guess, back from the down lows to the up highs. And, we're winning again just to get kind of kick them into the postseason. So I like the Dolphins in this game.
I don't like the Dolphins in this game, but I'm taking the Dolphins in this game. I took them to win the division. I took them to be the 2 seed. If you listen to my first podcast that we had, broke it all down for the year. I had them winning. I'm sticking to it. They're 7-1 at home. They're at home. Half of their
Yeah.
defense or more is gone. They lost Bradley Chubb. They lost Jalen Phillips earlier in the year. Xavier Howard's out. Ramsey might be out. Mostert might be out. Waddle might be out. However, they also lost by 28 in Buffalo earlier in the year. But anyway, we're going to take the Dolphins. We're going to take the Dolphins to win at home, to clinch the division. And then, like I said, I think they'll lock up that 2 spot. And then the Bills will then have to hope. I guess they'll already know if the Steelers or Jags have won or lost. But I think the Steelers end up losing. Jags win, clinch that division. And then the Bills lose. Dolphins clinch the 2. And Bills stick around in the playoffs, securing either 6 or 7 spot, depending on what happens with the other teams.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense. And the Bills have definitely been playing better the last couple of weeks, but I like the Dolphins this week. I don't know what it is. At home, it just feels right.
Either
Yeah,
way, I like a 3. Either way, I like a 3 to 3 or 4 point game. So I might buy the Dolphins up to 4 or 3,
yeah,
like even 3.5. But I think I'd probably buy it to 4, 4.5, and then play it safe with that. They're going to be playing for the division. Like you said, Tyreek should be going out of his mind, and they got to turn things around and prove that they can beat a good team. And the Bills did not look good last week. They looked
true.
very good, 2 or 3 weeks before that. They did not look good last week against the Pats. So going on the road with the pressure of winning the division, it'll be interesting to see if they can pull it together.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, that's gonna do it for NFL this week. That wraps it up for that, and then we'll have playoffs coming up. We're super stoked for that. Hopefully, get some of those futures that we were talking about at the beginning of the season that are starting to kick in.
Yeah.
A lot of them are probably red by now, but there's a few that are still looking pretty good. So let's keep our hopes up for those. College football, we got the Natty coming up. Washington was able to take down Texas, and Michigan was able to take down Bama in overtime. That's going to be one hell of a game. Right now, Washington is 4.5-point dogs to Michigan. I don't really have too many thoughts. I think that either one, it's going to be a very defensive game where Michigan's going to end up winning by like 10 points, or it's going to be just an absolutely offensive explosion where it's going to be just a back and forth game the entire game. And then, whatever team gets more possessions is going to end up winning. So, I kind of personally like Washington plus 4.5. I think this could be a game where Michigan does win by a field goal late. But who knows? This is a Michigan team where it looks like they can blow out anybody. So we'll see.
Yeah, I said at the beginning of the year that I think this is going to be a great year for the Harbaughs, having both Michigan and the Baltimore Ravens. And part of me thinks that, but wouldn't it be cool if the Pac-12 went out with a bang and won the
Yeah,
ends?
it really would be cool. And it would be good for the Big 12 too, going into next year because we'll have Washington who just won a natty. It'll be good, just for the Pac-12 teams coming into the Big 12. Those other teams are going to, actually welcome us with some grace instead of just being like, oh, you're just the newcomers.
Yeah, but I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, whoever has the ball last, if it's a shootout, um, I don't really think it's going to be a shootout. I think Michigan is going to annihilate them.
Yeah.
Um, I could see Washington going for 20, 24, but I don't think Washington's going to be able to stop Michigan. And Michigan's not that good of an offense either. I just think that the O line is going to be able to, win in the
Yeah.
trenches where it matters most, and their D line I think is going to do the same thing. I don't think they're going to be able to stop Corum. I don't think they'll be able to stop Donovan Edwards. And then they have, Cornelius Johnson, Colston Loveland, a couple guys that can catch the ball. Roman Wilson obviously had a big play last week. Um, I had Michigan and Washington get there. If you listen to the Instagram, we gave those out.
But they do have guys that can really rush the quarterback, so it's going to be
Yeah,
a
and
real tough game.
Washington has the playmakers, but if their
Yes.
line doesn't buy them time, then it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
But I mean, you saw last week they had 360 plus yard plays. Rome Odunze, stud. Jalen
Yeah.
Polk, stud. Jalen McMillan, stud. Dylan Johnson got hurt, so I'm interested to see how that plays a role in Washington's offense not really being able to run the ball. I do think Michigan's going to win by like 20.
Yeah.
Um,
Somehow
I
the
think
CBs are going to lock up the studs.
Harbaugh's going to win, and he's going to call it quits at Michigan, and he's going to leave for the NFL, probably in Chicago, I'm guessing.
I was seeing LA was potentially looking at him with the Chargers, which would be an interesting role
Yeah.
for him because they've got a lot of moving parts over there. That would be pretty easy to just fit right into and coach that team to a championship, to a Super Bowl. It's crazy. So
Yeah, I
I
think
would
you'd
love
rather
to
go
see
to the
that.
Bears. I think you'd rather go to the Bears because
Yeah.
one, he's already like from around there and played there. Uh, but yeah, we'll see what happens with it. I think he ends up winning the Natty. I think John Harbaugh follows it up, wins the Natty or Super Bowl
Super Bowl, yeah.
with the
Ravens.
Ravens, and then the Harbaughs both take it home, and I think John goes back to the NFL and probably goes to the Bears. I am going to take Washington plus 4.5, and I'm also going to take Michigan minus 9.5, maybe minus 13.5, because I think if it's a shootout, Washington loses maybe by 3 or wins. If it's not, I think the trenches get won by Michigan, and I think they win by at least 17.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to go one of two ways. I'm not really sure which one of those two it's going to be. I can't see Michigan stopping them. I just don't know or I can't see Washington stopping Michigan, but I'm not sure if Michigan's going to be able to stop Washington or not. So those are the two plays I'm going to look at, and I'm leaning on Michigan.
Yeah.
Gonna win it big.
Yep. I like that. I think that I'm just taking Washington based off purely off of the offense the entire year. There have been moments where their offense has stalled against decent defenses, and they have been put in tough games late. So if Michigan's able to stall Washington's offense early, it's going to be a blowout. But if Washington's able to score first, I think this is going to be a super close and entertaining game. So I'm just really looking forward to it.
Yeah,
But
if it
yeah,
gets to 21, if it gets to 21-14, I'm gonna be betting Washington. But if it starts out like 7-0 Washington, I'm gonna wait and see what happens because Michigan could easily go like 21-7. In which case, then I'm gonna take
yeah,
Michigan with the points, whatever they're getting at that point. Because I think you'll be able to tell by the second quarter if it's gonna be a blowout or if it's gonna be a shootout, and then I'll
yeah,
probably go
for
from there.
sure.
So it might be a good bet, live bet game.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's true
that's how
too.
I'm feeling.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been a fun couple weeks for us. Getting to see you over Christmas was super fun. Getting to exchange some gifts,
Mhm.
spend some quality time together. It's always good. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. If you have any questions, comments, things we want to talk about, kind of going through the NFL postseason and into the end of the NBA season, into that postseason, feel free to comment and let us know. Like, subscribe, let us know what you guys think, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks. Peace.
So you.